Welcome back to The Explainer. So if you're the kind of person who gets absolutely fascinated by history that just, well, doesn't quite fit the neat little textbook narrative, you are in the exact right place today. We're going to be diving into 7 mind-boggling ancient structures that literally defy our conventional understanding of technological timelines. I mean, we're talking about massive monuments and entire cities that, according to everything we've been taught about human progress, simply shouldn't exist when they do. So let's jump right into this and see what these impossible stones actually have to tell us.
Okay, to kick things off and really anchor what we mean when we use the word impossible, I want you to just look at this number. 1,500 tons. That is the weight of one single solid block of stone sitting out in eastern Lebanon at a site known as Baalbek. For basically 2,000 years, this massive chunk of rock has just been sitting there. And honestly, nobody knows exactly who started cutting it out of the earth or why. To put that sheer, just unfathomable weight into perspective for a second, imagine taking 10 adult blue whales, literally the largest animals on the planet, and compressing all of their mass into one single stone block. Not even our standard modern mobile cranes could just roll up and easily lift this thing off the ground. And yet, somehow someone in the deep ancient past carved it right out of the bedrock. It's wild.
And here is the really crazy part you have to keep in mind. These absolute engineering nightmares were executed entirely without the foundational tools of modern construction. We're talking no steel cables, no hydraulic cranes, no wheels, no pulleys, and in some cases, not even basic metallurgical technology or written blueprints. They pulled this off with human hands, ropes made out of plant fibers, and just sheer willpower.
Which brings us to our first category of impossible sites, defying time and space.
So, to really see how these sites completely shatter our timeline of human capabilities, let's look at Göbekli Tepe over in modern-day Turkey. Just take a look at the dates here. Göbekli Tepe was built 11,500 years ago. That is a full 6,000 years before Stonehenge and 7,000 years before the Great Pyramid of Giza. When this massive complex of T-shaped stone pillars was put up, there wasn't a single written language. No cities, no farms. It was built by hunter-gatherers using nothing but flint tools. Some of these pillars weigh up to 10 tons, and they're covered in these intricate 3D bas-relief carvings of animals. And get this, incredibly, after it was all built, those same ancient people deliberately buried the whole thing under massive amounts of earth, hiding it perfectly for over 11 millennia. I mean, why?
Speaking of digging into the earth, check out this next site, which is actually also in Turkey, the underground city of Derinkuyu. Now, this wasn't just some glorified basement, okay? It was an entire subterranean metropolis going 18 levels deep, dropping 85 meters straight down. Just imagine a 25-story skyscraper, but buried vertically into solid rock. It could house 20,000 people, plus all their livestock. It had communal kitchens, schools, and over 15,000 ventilation shafts just to keep the air breathable down there. They even had these massive 500-kilogram stone doors that rolled into place like millstones to seal off the city from the inside. So how exactly do you carve an underground city of that massive scale without a single bulldozer, laser level, or even a modern blueprint? All right, let's move on to our next section, defying friction and gravity. This quote absolutely nails the sheer disbelief of seeing Sacsayhuaman in Peru. It's from Pedro Pizarro, who was a Spanish chronicler back in the 16th century. He was staring at this zigzagging mountain fortress made of these massive polygonal stone blocks, some of them weighing up to 200 tons. And these stones were dragged over 35 kilometers across mountain gorges and rivers, long before the wheel or even pack animals were used in that region. But what's even more mind-blowing is the fit. The blocks are joined so perfectly together, completely without mortar, that modern lasers confirm there is zero gap. You literally couldn't slide a single piece of paper between them. These walls have survived massive earthquakes that turned later Spanish colonial churches into actual dust.
Now, let's take a dive 25 meters underwater off the coast of Japan to the Yonaguni Monument. This site is the subject of a really fierce, ongoing debate in the scientific community right now. On one hand, you have researchers like Professor Masaki Kimura, who argue that this 150-meter-long stone platform, with its straight 90-degree angles, flat terraces, and stairs, is unequivocally man-made. Now, if that's true, it means it was built over 10,000 years ago, which is the last time this land was actually above sea level. On the flip side, geologists like Robert Schoch argue that it's a completely natural, albeit incredibly bizarre geological formation created by tectonic fractures and ocean currents.
And hey, we aren't taking sides in this explainer, but whether it's the ultimate natural illusion or the sunken remnants of a lost Ice Age civilization, Yonaguni absolutely commands our awe.
Shifting gears to Egypt, the staggering data density of the Great Pyramid of Giza truly puts this whole concept into perspective. I mean, we've all seen it in textbooks, but really, look at these numbers for a second. 2.3 million blocks of stone. The heaviest granite slabs hidden deep inside weigh up to 80 tons, and they were transported 800 kilometers up the Nile River from Aswan. And the precision? Over a massive length of 200 meters, the horizontal base has an error margin of less than 2 centimeters. Seriously, modern builders only achieve that kind of dead-on leveling using laser sights.
And it doesn't stop there. Let's look at how this builds into pure astronomical precision. The Great Pyramid is perfectly aligned to true north, south, east, and west, with an insanely tiny deviation of just 3 minutes and 38 seconds of a single degree. Its internal shafts point flawlessly to specific stars like Sirius and the constellations of Orion and Draco, exactly as they appeared in the ancient sky. The builders somehow achieved stellar perfection, creating the tallest structure on Earth for 3,700 years, and they did all of this thousands of years before the invention of a simple magnetic compass. Just incredible.
Okay, let's circle back to Lebanon for Section 3, the ultimate heavyweights. Comparing the megaliths still just sitting there in the quarry, we actually started this explainer with that 1,500-ton block. It was discovered by a German archaeological institute back in 2014, and it's known as the Forgotten Stone. It literally holds the record as the single largest worked stone on the planet. But it has siblings. The stone of the pregnant woman weighs in at 1,000 tons, and the stone of the south is over 1,200 tons. All of them are perfectly cut, yet left completely unfinished, just waiting for a building project that, well, seemingly never materialized.
And if you go just down the road to the actual temple site, there's a foundation containing 3 stones, known as the Trilithon. They weigh 750 tons each, and they were raised 20 meters into the air. And much like Yonaguni, this sparks a massive historical debate. One camp attributes this incredible feat to conventional Roman engineers using very advanced wooden winches and pulleys. But the other camp points out that these massive foundation stones look entirely different in both their style and their weathering compared to the Roman temples built on top of them. So they suggest the Romans might have merely built upon the ruins of a much older, lost civilization.
You know, even the great American writer Mark Twain felt the profound weight of this mystery when he visited the site back in the 19th century. His quote right here really sums it up perfectly. Despite all of our modern archaeological knowledge, how they actually moved 750-ton blocks, or even planned to move a 1,500-ton block, remains a tightly closed book.
Which brings us to our next stop. Section 4, Precision Without Technology. So, to really understand our next site, Puma Punku in Bolivia, you first have to understand the material they were working with. The site is built using andesite. Now, this is a volcanic rock so incredibly hard that it ranks right up there near hardened steel on the Mohs hardness scale. Even today, with all our tech, if you try to drill into andesite, you are going to very quickly dull and completely destroy modern diamond-tip drill bits.
So the absolutely crucial point here is how the ancients actually processed this rock. They didn't just smash these stones into rough squares. No, they cut them into complex, interlocking H shapes with flawless 90-degree internal angles. They polished the faces to literal mirror finish. They drilled perfectly spaced, identical 6mm step holes straight through the rock. I mean, this entire process reads exactly like the output of a modern computer-controlled CNC machining center. Yet we're told this was done by hand, using primitive tools, well over 1,000 years ago, or perhaps even much earlier.
Now, when you layer in the environmental constraints, the absurdity of Puma Punku reaches a whole new level. The site sits up on the Altiplano Plateau at an altitude of 3,850 meters. To put that into perspective, that means there's a full 1/3 less oxygen in the air for you to breathe while doing backbreaking manual labor. There are virtually no trees up there, meaning no wood to make transport rollers. And yet, they somehow moved 131-ton polished blocks from quarries 90 kilometers away, crossing Lake Titicaca. They fit them together like 3D puzzle pieces using poured copper staples. Even the Incas who discovered the ruins much later had absolutely no idea who built them. Their legends just simply stated that the gods built it all in a single night.
And that leads us to our final section. Section 5, A Forgotten Human Legacy.
You see, when we're in school, we are taught a very linear view of human progress. We start with the primitive Stone Age, then we slowly discover metal in the Bronze Age, we get better tools in the Iron Age, and eventually we build modern technology. It's a nice, straight upward slope. But these ancient structures, they force us to confront a pretty glaring error in that textbook narrative. They prove that long before the Bronze Age, people possessed engineering knowledge and capabilities that we, with all of our hydraulic cranes and diamond drills, are only just now managing to replicate.
Which leaves us with this final, really profound question to consider. Is human progress actually a straight line of constant improvement, or is history more of a cycle? Are there peaks of high civilization and advanced knowledge that were somehow lost to time, just waiting beneath the earth and the oceans to be rediscovered?